This show is made possible by the generous support of listeners just like you. Our show is about helping souls grow, prosper, and evolve, and every gift ensures that we can continue to do this. So we thank our generous supporters and also ask if you would like to be a part of supporting this important effort to bring this message of truth to the world. Please consider heading to experienceofthesoul.com/support to be a part of supporting us by being a regular patron or making a one-time gift. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
Supportek Staffing and Center for the Healing Arts present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 151, Spiritual Detox. And now your host, Reverend cynthiaaliceanderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthiaaliceanderson. I'm the host, and I'm here in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey, episode 151. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend, and I always love being the first to welcome you to a brand new week.
Yes, happy Monday. Always happy to have you with us. And I just spoke to somebody we happened to be recording on a Monday who said, I just listened to your show. It was a really good one. And I was thinking, I said, well, I haven't even listened to it yet. So it really touched me that one of our listeners I was able to talk to in real time who just listened to the show and was really getting a lot out of it. So thank you, friends. And thank you, especially when you share the show. You know, if this is something that really supports you and lifts you up, share it with your friends. We really want to reach the world with our message. I say we want to. We are reaching the world. I want to reach more of the world. I have some real specific goals, and I'm keeping those. I'm just holding those as very quiet and sacred in my own time. And I can't wait to be able to share the manifestation of that. That's always been a lot of fun because every goal about the podcast we've ever had, we've hit. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very, very, very cool. And it's over 150 episodes. We're coming up on our third year. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Or no, we're wrapping up our third year.
No.
I'm confused.
Well, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be because there's 52 weeks in a year.
Wow.
What?
I don't know how that happened. 3 years. We're about to start our fourth year. There's the
that
math.
Just seems
I'm counting on my fingers.
I know. I had to think for a minute there. Wow. That's 3 years? I don't know where to put that. Friends, that's amazing. Thank you for your support for 3 years. You know, have you noticed, though, we all do this, like we're just going on, and I just feel so called to do this that I don't even think about the time I spend doing it other than it's time to do it, and I can't wait to do it. Can't wait to do it more. So we've also
absolutely
been, real blessed to have the show now on Unity Online Radio. So we love when you listen any place. It's a little bit easier to track, though, when you listen on the podcast itself. But Unity Online Radio is tracking it for us, and they're sharing it. Especially, I've noticed when we do interviews with very known individuals, that gets blasted out to another 60,000 people. So it's been wonderful, friends. Thank you for all your support, and also, again, share. Let us know too if there's somebody we need to reach out to. But we're on every platform. I mean, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. We're trying to hit everything. So no matter where you are looking for us, we should be there.
That's right.
Well, and we have Dave too to thank for the great sound and the great video. We've learned as we've gone. It's always been excellent. And I'm meeting with someone tomorrow from who's a college professor and doing great work and a great show. And she's been listening, and I'm going to be able to help her with some things and see if I can hook her up with Dave as well for some tech support. So, that's great. I'm always happy to be able to do that because we have a high quality show, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And Dave, you're very much a part of that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm more than happy to help. And it's something that I'm passionate about. And, I'm sitting in the studio every single morning by 6:30, 7 o'clock. I am with the headphones on and working. So I'm happy to help.
Yes. Well, again, welcome to the show. It is show 151, right, Dave? So give us our title for today, because it was a last minute change. I was feeling really guided.
Today's episode is Spiritual Detox. Spiritual Detox.
Well, I think I talked about this, like, I'm going to say now, years ago. It's been a long time since we've talked about this. And what I'm realizing is several of the conversations I've had with individuals recently has lent itself to this conversation. So, but before I get too much into the spiritual detox, what I want to do is first acknowledge all the soul work you've been doing. So many people I've talked to, that come to the ranch event and one-on-one, they're saying, wow, I'm journaling every day. I'm doing my gratitudes. I'm, working at touching in with my intuition. I'm even using the observer self. I'm becoming more aware of my responses. I'm becoming more aware of how I want to react, and it's really helping me. And I'm going, yay, this is so cool. But then a couple people have said, but why is it so hard right now then? And so I want those folks to know this show is absolutely for you. It's with you in mind. And I want this show to really help you. So spiritual detox. I'm calling it spiritual detox because that's the word we know. For instance, what do we usually think of when we think of the word detox? Dave, what do you think of when you think of detox?
Well, either like a cleanse, like a dietary detox or something like that, or, worst case scenario, somebody kind of trying to get off of drugs and rehab and trying to rid their body of harmful substances.
Exactly. You described it perfectly. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was like, I didn't even tell you. I was like,
start Googling it real quick.
What is detox? Well, because I wanted to ask you, because you had no awareness, I was going to ask you that. I think that's how we all think of it. So often now when I get together with people say, well, I'm on a cleanse, I'm detoxing right now. And I was at a store the other day, a high-end grocery store. I don't feel like advertising for them. And I bought several juices that were labeled detox. And I juice fairly regularly. I juice 4 meals a week for health and vitality. And that's even an affirmation I say every day. Well, what I've noticed as I detox is that toxins have to be released. Detox, right? So we're detoxifying the body temple, the system, the stomach, the colon, the, whatever, those parts of the body that have been that have held toxins. So spiritual detox then, just thinking about that, is what? It means we are ridding ourselves of old toxic beliefs, behaviors, feelings, even beliefs that no longer serve, even self-talk. Self-talk is one of the most toxic things we can be doing. Self-talk is largely negative. I mean, the number one thing I work on with people is, working with their, what I often, call our internal assaults. I think we talked about that on the show that aired a few weeks ago, that, that self-talk that says, you're not good enough. And why are you doing that? And why do you think you can do that? And are you sure? So those are the things that when we start to live from soul, need to go. So when I say the word spiritual detox, this is what I'm meaning. Spiritual detox. So, what so many of us are seeking is clarity as transformation at the deepest level of our being. We are seeking to know God, to live, from soul. And what often happens is we will get to this certain place in consciousness and we feel like we can't grow anymore. Well, it means it may be time to detox, even spiritually. So what can happen is if you begin learning new practices, new like, for instance, breathing techniques. I often in my classes am doing breathing techniques, or we're deepening our meditation practice, Well, as we start to do that, what happens is the new is meeting the old, and there's a kind of agitation. It's like the old fights back. If we were in church, I'd say, raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Dave's waving, y'all. Dave's waving. Yes, raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Well, for instance, many people have said to me, how come I said I want to know more prosperity in my life? And it seems like the second I said that, every fear I had ever had about money came forward. Or all of a sudden, I got all these bills and I felt anything but prosperous. This is a very common thing that happens. Well, as you enter the intention of this new energy into your life and into your mind, everything unlike that comes up to be healed. So there is a kind of spiritual detox. Am I making sense what I'm saying here, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's making sense.
So what I've noticed too is even if we clear out some of these thoughts about ourselves, we actually then have to deal with the habit also. Because it's like, okay, I've really done this forgiveness work. I've really released this, and our mind wants to go back to it. So sometimes we have to repeat some of the spiritual lessons. Sometimes we have to repeat some of the release and then bring in new thoughts of empowerment to replace that old, stuff that we've released. I want to back up here and say that the reason I'm speaking of this today is that of all the people telling me how much they're growing and how much they're learning, when they hit a rough spot, what happens is people think they're doing it wrong. And somehow I want to encourage you a little bit in that, friend, and say, the way the system works is that the old bubbling up is simply a part of the process. It means you're doing it exactly right when this happens. And I think a lot of people get discouraged. I think they feel like, why do I not know more spiritually? Why is it when I try to move forward, I say I want to be loving and then somebody does something and I just want to hate on them, or I hear something and it makes me furious and I'm trying to deal with my anger, in a more spiritual way. Well, friends, this is normal. And as as this happens, how you greet this is what will really decide whether you move into full spiritual detox or not, which means where you really begin to release it, at a deeper level. But I wanted to say that when you do that, there is, in fact, often there is, in fact, a physical sensation that goes along with that. So I'm going to talk more about the physical aspects probably in the second half, but I want you to just be thinking, I'm sure as I'm saying this, that you're starting to feel into in your own life and in your own journey how this has happened. It's like as soon as you start forgiving, something comes up and you say, I thought I just forgave that. The answer is yes. Yes, you did. And it's time to forgive it again. So you're going to release and release and release. And as you do it, the old is going to fight to have its way. And as you move through it, what you're doing is moving your consciousness from this right, wrong, this third dimension, this level of materiality into the higher spiritual consciousness, which we often call fourth dimension consciousness or the higher Christ consciousness. Right? Christ consciousness, the Christ, Jesus, the Christ. And what I'm speaking of, fourth dimension, it's all the same thing. It means we're living from the highest self that we are. It means that we are releasing our attachment to the material and moving into the Christ consciousness. Well, to do that is a transformative process. I mean, even Jesus had to go on the cross, friends. None of us none of us get out of this part of the journey. And because people don't talk about it very much, we don't know how to move through it. And I don't talk about it enough, frankly, because it's such an important part of the journey. It's when we cry when we don't know what's happening next. It's when we've done a lot of spiritual work and then all of a sudden fear comes up. We're trying to detox. We're trying to, release the unhealthy. And it's and some of the stuff we're holding on to is ancient. I mean, it is like lifetimes back, and here it comes, and we go, where is this from? Yes, I think you know what I mean. And so the soul of you gets used to a certain level of like consciousness, a certain level of thinking and doing. And as this happens, it takes a while to move into the new level. It's like, oh, this is not who I am anymore. This is not who I am anymore because I'm living in the higher consciousness. In other words, I'm not living in fear. I'm living in peace. I'm not living with I needing on the physical level because I'm on the spiritual level now. And so to stay and actually transform to this higher level of consciousness, we have to move through this process. And friends, most of us stop when this process begins because it feels too hard. It feels we have done it wrong. And that's exactly what the old energy wants you to think. This is the language of the ego. When we start to move into higher consciousness, everything unlike that comes up for healing, I should say. Sometimes my Southern accent, friends. Thank you for loving me in spite of. So it's like in your mind, in your total consciousness, there's like this chemical reaction. There's a Southern phrase I keep thinking of. My mom would say, honey, it seems like you're all in a swivet. There's this energy that happens. It's like any of you that clean using baking soda and vinegar. If you put down a little baking soda and you pour vinegar in that, it causes this chemical reaction. One chemical negates the other. It's like it bubbles all up. It's great for cleaning because that reaction that happens, it agitates the whatever's dirty on the surface. And in a live classroom setting, I've often, put on a lab coat and I put on goggles. I make a big thing of it and I, mix those two together. I put down this big thing of soda and I pour the vinegar on top and it bubbles out, over the bowl. Oh, what is that? That's exactly what happens in our consciousness when we are putting in this new, this good, this energy. The old bubbles up. It agitates. But what's left is clean and clear. So this commotion, this energy, this, as my mom would call a swivet, this old energy fighting back, there's actually a purpose to it. So if we stop in our process when this is happening, then we are not ready for the new consciousness. So hear that. So we have to desire growth more than anything. We have to desire growth more than material. We have to desire growth more than I want this, I want that. We have to desire peace. We have to desire love. We have to desire this higher way of being more than anything. And sometimes it just feels kind of hard. We're not quite ready. But I want to assure you that if you can hang in there, your ego will learn its proper place. And your ego has to eventually bow to the soul of you because your ego is powerless without your permission. Your ego is powerless without your permission. So think about that. The chaos, the chaotic emotions that come up are actually helping your consciousness move. So don't damn it, bless it. And so there's this really old book This old book is called Lessons in Truth. And in Truth is Unity's text, but there's two textbooks in Unity, really. And that's the faith I am ordained in. One is the Bible. The other is a book called Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. And the truth is, Unity is based on her teachings. And she was a great writer, back in the day. And she talks about it in her book, Lessons in Truth. There's a whole chapter on it. And the chapter is entitled Chemicalization, Personality, and Individuality. And so what we're calling spiritual detox, she calls chemicalization. And she describes it as this internal aggravation. So this is Lessons in Truth. She says, should you find yourself in this state of internal aggravation, you need only affirm. There is nothing to fear. Absolutely nothing to fear. Perfect love reigns and all is good. Peace be still. And so on. And very soon, the brighter conditions will appear and you will find yourself on a much higher plane than ever before. So that's what I'm saying, friends, is chemicalization is a part of the process. It's like part of the curriculum. If you're going to change and you're going to grow, at some point, that chemicalization process is going to happen. So you don't have to be afraid of it. Think about it. Know it. Familiarize yourself with the idea. Now, as we're thinking about, like Dave, we were saying very early on, that we often think of detox relating to diet, relating even to, getting sober from drug or alcohol addiction. So when we describe it in those terms, we know when you go through a detox in the body, sometimes you can have headaches. Sometimes, I hope, friends, this is not crude. You can have like a little diarrhea. You can have an upset stomach a little bit because you're releasing all the toxins out of the body. And if you're detoxing from alcohol and drugs is the worst. The shakes, the sweats, the fevers, the night terrors, nightmares, and things like that. All that is part of a detox. So as we think about it spiritually, it's not all that different. So we want to get into more of that second half. Now, Dave, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I felt like you were going to say something a minute ago.
No, you actually circled kind of back around to it, the withdrawal, the withdrawal symptoms, and how, part of the detoxing is kind of removing this thing which is probably unhealthy for you, even though your body craves it, whether it's sugar or whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or whatever. And so your body clinging to the thing it knows, even to its own detriment.
Oh, yes. I mean, sugar is a big one. There was a woman I was talking to who said, I think sugar's the devil. And I said, I won't argue that point because she said, if I just have a little, I just want more and more and more. And I said, well, that's definitely true, of white sugar. Yeah, we crave what we do not need. And so what's so amazing as you go through spiritual detox is that there are ways to calm yourself. There are ways to recenter yourself that are sometimes harder when you're doing a food detox and certainly difficult when you're going through alcohol or drug detox. But spiritually, we know we have tools. We have practices. It's why I talk so much about, a daily practice, because we want to have something to come back to that anchors us in the spiritual, right? So what anchors you in the spiritual? Number one, of course, is the meditative practice, because even there can be the storms of life and your mind is going every which way. But if you can say, like Emily Cady says, again, this is page 88 in the book, there's nothing to fear, absolutely nothing to fear. Perfect love reigns and all is good. Peace be still. If we can have an energy, a dynamic, a thought like that comes in, and we take that into a time of meditation, then we can be still. our soul can rest. And that even though we're feeling our emotions, we know we are not our emotions, right? So we can use our very own practices that we know to recenter, to get back into the moment and sense that, all is truly well. That even though we are in process, all is truly well. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. So, friends, we're going to talk some more about this. We're going to come back in just a few minutes. But I want you to rest assured, if you're in this process or you've seen it before, it's all part of the curriculum, Spiritual Detox. And we want to help you. We want to support you as you move through to really live life from the soul, to live life from this higher energy and this higher awareness. So we thank you for joining us, and we'll be back right after these brief messages.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partners, Supportek Staffing. Supportek Staffing is an innovative staffing agency built on the principle of caring about employers and employees as they navigate these new workforce and workplace challenges. If you're an employer, they want to be your human resource partner and help with the changes needed during the pandemic. If you're a candidate, they want to become your lifelong career agent to help you grow into your fullest potential. Supportek prioritizes support over volume, integrity over profits, and will treat your business and your career as if it was their own. You can learn more at supportekstaffing.com. That's SUPPORTEK staffing.com. And finally, we want to give a special word of thanks to Center for the Healing Arts. Center for the Healing Arts is one of the first dedicated group practices devoted to challenging, supportive, and nurturing therapy. Their dedicated therapists have a wide range of expertise, including relationship and couples therapy, individual therapy, addictions, neurofeedback, play therapy for children, adolescents, and families, and therapy for blended family issues. They also regularly offer day-long intensive workshops for relationships, addiction recovery, adult children of alcoholics, and healing trauma in the LGBTQ+ community. For more information, head over to centerforthehealingarts.com or call 407-657-8555, extension 1. We now return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia.Anderson.
Hey, welcome back. We hope we got you thinking about the spiritual detox. And, it may sound intense, and it is. So I don't want to minimize, the experience that we can have emotionally and spiritually as we do the deeper work. And because so few people are talking about it, we don't always know enough about it to know that we are actually on track, with our process as it happens. And I wanted to talk about several aspects of it this second half. And the main thing I want you to realize is that if you find yourself in spiritual detox, it means you're healing at a rapid rate. Spiritual detox is like a yes from the universe, because it's like the old has to come out if the new is being brought in a powerful way. And so as we meditate to, become still every day, to ground in this new energy, that it on the surface, it can appear a little chaotic. It can seem like a lot of things are changing at the same time. And so what's happening, though, is things are getting restructured and realigned. And so we must remain open to the timing of the universe. We must remain open to the wisdom of the universe, as this is happening. So it's like, I want you to hear me say, we do emerge on the other side of the detox, of course, more healed. That's the idea. We are detoxifying. So we release the toxins so that the new energy then holds, the new consciousness holds, the new awareness holds. And so we feel lighter, we feel freer, we do more things with less effort. We feel like more in charge in life. But going through it is hell. I'll be honest. going through spiritual detox is very, very difficult. In some of the most intense times, people have probably called that the dark night of the soul. It's where we feel we don't understand what's happening in life. We say, "Who am I?" and "Who is God?" This is an example, an extreme example of what spiritual detox can be like. But remember, as you're going through it, again, this is why I'm doing it, to give you some hope as you're going through it, that the negative energy that you release, that's been bogging you down for years, is leaving. So this is like really great news for your soul. And if you can just hold on to that idea that, like, okay, yes, a lot is changing. I'm feeling a lot of things at the same time, but God is with me. Peace be still. All is well. All is well. All is well. Like, let this new energy, this new vibration take hold. So I want you to be encouraged by this and to know that you're right on track. You're right on track. And as I'm saying all this, I realize I haven't really given some of the physical manifestations that can happen. And when I say this, I almost want to put like a warning. You know how there's an explicit warning? There ought to be a warning like deep soul teaching, buckle your seatbelt. Because spiritual detox can have physical impacts. Sometimes you can get a sore throat and it can feel like you're like coming down with something. You even get like body aches. Sometimes after a really intense, it could be a therapeutic session. It could be after intense meditation, or if you've been doing this practice for a while, trying to bring this new energy on, you can experience like waves of heat or cold throughout the body. I mean, it can be like, what is going on? Women are going to say, is it menopause? Men are going to say, am I sick? Do I have a fever? Even your eating patterns can change. Even your eating patterns. One time I went through I've been through a couple different intense spiritual detox times, and I had this, my body literally shook. So I don't want to scare you with this, but this is what happened. And a friend of mine who was an incredible massage therapist, she's really retired now, but she said, "Oh, well, that's just your endocrine system resetting." I was like, "Oh, okay." And she said, "No, this is good because it knows what to do. Your system is shaking. It's like it's shaking out, what doesn't serve you anymore." And as she said that, I had this memory of, for anybody that knows me well personally, knows I love birds. My mom raised birds. I've always been very connected to the bird world. Sometimes you'll even hear birds in the recording because I've created a little sanctuary in my backyard for birds, But birds, if they fall, or like sometimes birds, if there's a real clear window, they might fly into it by accident. Well, what I've noticed is if a bird flies into a window and they get hurt and fall down, if you don't touch them, what they will do is they'll get up and they'll shake, and they shake all the pain off and then fly away like nothing happened. It's like their bodies, their little souls know how to reset to release the pain and move out. And I've done some research around that, and that's really what they're doing. They're shaking off the pain. And so as humans, see, we forget we're also animals. We always think, oh yeah, well, everything's got to be all buttoned up all the time. But the thing is, we're vibrant. We are human beings, yes, but we are also part of the animal world. And at times our bodies have responses that can't always medically be explained, but are a part of our body's reset. Sometimes it's a headache in detox. Sometimes our body shakes. Sometimes we have a little bit of stomach issue, like we'll have diarrhea or some discomfort, and then later go, "Oh, I feel much better." We don't take anything, and it just passes because it's the body's release. The shaking is the body's release. Sometimes we laugh. we think, there's nothing funny. Why am I laughing? It's a release. Sometimes we cry. It's a release. And sometimes when we're doing a lot of spiritual work, we may feel the need to cry or laugh when it doesn't make sense. Well, that's your body releasing old energy. It's like, I want you to know this is normal. This is nothing to be concerned about. It doesn't happen all the time, but as we are really trying to, live a spiritual life, and we're working our soul journey every day, or we're, looking at really old behaviors, somehow the body has to release that. And so it's why, I often will say, if you were, we'll help you if you get some physical practice, a yoga practice, a walking practice, get a massage, some way to deal with the body, because the body is supporting all the spiritual work, and it holds all of the memory, all of the energy, of all of these old beliefs and fears and pains and emotions. So the body is really important to care for and to honor as you go through this spiritual detox process. A way also I've noticed is that's happened to me is I've had strange dreams, or feeling like I don't know what to do next, and that often happens if there's a big forgiveness piece where you're going back and doing forgiveness work, where you're really doing deep family of origin work. So as I'm saying all of this, friends, I'm hoping that you're connecting and going, oh my gosh, this has happened to me. Or, oh my goodness, nobody ever told me this is normal. So I want you to be encouraged that, if some of this stuff is going on, it won't last. Now, as I say this, I feel like I should say, if your sleep is disrupted and it goes on, well, there may be something physical to look at. But if you have trouble sleeping for a couple nights because you just did a lot of deep spiritual work, now you're going to have context. It's like, oh, everything is fine. I don't need to panic. I don't need to worry. My body is processing this new energy and this new awareness. The good news is that you are realigning, you are readjusting, and you're moving into living more from the soul. You're moving into a living from this higher consciousness, this new place of awareness. And again, you will be, as you get through it, you will be invigorated. You will be excited. You will feel more in charge of life and its direction, because you feel more at ease, more at peace, and you're not bringing this like invisible bag of, baggage with you. You have done the spiritual work to release it. And I want to speak strongly to you about during this happening, it is so important to get the proper spiritual support. So you may need an extra meditation. You may need a little more nurturing and downtime of quiet. And I mean, really just quiet, like no phone even. Yes, friends, I said it, no phone even. And you may need a one-on-one session. That's what coaching and spiritual counseling and therapy is for. You may need a little support through your process, but make sure that person you're going to has context for this in their practice, because you're not crazy. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing it right. When you've hit spiritual detox, you are growing at a rapid rate. You are healing. And rest assured that as the physical circumstances in your life seem a little disorderly, it's because they're readjusting and realigning. And so your work is going to be to not catastrophize that this disorder is going to remain. Sometimes when I've gone through it, I start saying, oh my gosh, am I always going to feel like this? And it becomes as a part of your spiritual discipline and practice to trust that if this is going on, it's like all is well. I am realigning. I am being guided. I am in wisdom. All is well. And so you're going to have to do some work with maintaining center, with just tapping into spirit and saying, it's okay. All is well. God is working on my behalf. I am getting through this. This is important for my soul. And I want you to know, friends, how profoundly loved and supported you are by the universe. As you begin to go through this, as you begin to trust even more your own soul, that you're going to be in this dynamic, real conversation and process with all that is. And this energy is healing, and yet it is confrontive. It is challenging, and yet it is comforting. So this process you're in is a dynamic relationship. It is a conversation. It is a growth step for you. So to review, spiritual detox is where we are releasing the older energies. It is where we have so brought in new energy of love, of soul, of peace, of joy, that those old beliefs, that old self-talk is no longer needed. And that new energy meets the old. There's this agitation. Psychologically, it might be called a perturbation of energy where the situation is perturbed, but actually it's accomplishing something. Remember that it's cleaning something, like the vinegar and the soda. It's that chemical reaction. It's cleaning out. The old is released and the new is taking hold. So even if it's not fun in the process, remember you can rest in, this is a positive sign for me and my soul. This is a positive sign for my growth. And I am being restructured from the inside out. I am being aligned. I am being lifted up. I am being healed at the level of the soul. So my prayer for you as you continue this work, friend, is that you will continue to know that you are so loved and supported by the universe, that as you move into this new energy, you're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel more in charge. You're going to feel this release of old negativity, and you'll actually physically feel lighter, more at ease, and more able to choose direction in life. And I can tell you from personal experience, that is an amazing place to be, and that it never ends. As you become accustomed to this new energy, and you're going to love it, and you're going to say, oh my goodness, this work was worth it. 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, it's going to happen again. And we're going to bless it all, because every time we go through this spiritual detox, we know this positive, uplifting, vibrational energy is coming in, clearing us out from the inside, and aligning us with God, with soul, with all that is. So this is always my prayer for you, that as you go through your journey, you continue to grow, to prosper, and to evolve. And we seek to provide you with support on that journey, so that you know you are loved and supported by the universe, so that you know you are not doing it alone. And so, in fact, that we love and support you in your process. So if you run into something, we can be of service to you. Reach out. This is why I work with people one-on-one. My schedule is fairly full, but there's a couple appointments every week available. And if it's not me, someone. Seek out support as you do this work. And by all means, do the most important work of your soul, which is to meditate. Meditate, meditate. Center in God, and know you are loved, you are supported, you are blessed. So we thank you, dear friend, for joining us on the journey. We just love and bless you so much for all your support of us and the show. And thank you for all the ways you share, for all the ways you support through your giving, through your sharing of the show. And as always, if there's a topic you really want to hear about, send us an email, drop us a line, and we will be happy to consider any way that we can support you better. So we've got information. Yeah.
And remember, we will have links to the Lesson in Truth book. We will have links to that in our show notes. Be sure to click on the show for May 10th, 2021, episode 151. And if you're listening to this and it's long past that, you can always search on the experienceofthesoul.com website. Just do a search for Spiritual Detox.
All right, friends, blessings on the journey, and we'll see you next week.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey presented by Supportek Staffing and Center for the Healing Arts. This channel is also made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2021 Cynthiaaliceanderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.